Hi, it's Xavier. Welcome to my Bonsai Retreat, and I think we've got something special today because I am going to prove to you, hopefully, that even the most difficult, most impossible of unknown species can actually be turned into bonsai, and quite creditable ones too. But if you want to see how I'm getting on with these Oleari traversi, which is a sort of New Zealand shrub, I think it's called daisy bush, which I actually picked up when I go up to Orkney for my annual retreat, you'll have to keep watching on because we'll be looking at the fourth tree at the end. And there's no guarantee that the answer is yes, because you know me, I have some appalling failures on my videos. So if you want to see whether I've managed to achieve the impossible and created a bonsai from stuff like this, you need to watch on.
Says who?
Now the first in this series came, I think, way back in August August 2022, when I first introduced you to this interesting evergreen species, which grows in the most harshest of coastal conditions, way up in Stronsay in Orkney. Well, I know a lot of you haven't watched it. In fact, you want to see that first video? It's up there. It is interesting because I'm going to challenge you. I think you can do bonsai out of just about anything. Well, maybe. Now, if you didn't see the video in May, I then revisited these again around the same sort of time in 2023. And in fact, spoilers, if you watch that one, you'll probably get a better idea of the actual answer about have I managed to achieve the impossible. But one of the ones that I was most interested in was this one here. Very, very interesting. Got some movement, and I've been slowly trying to decide what I can do with it, and it's challenging nonetheless. It definitely is challenging, and I have a very immediate option, and I think you can probably see it. I've got these two branches here. They're healthily growing, and I could remove that entire section, grow it afresh from these two here, and start it from there.
No, please don't do that.
By the way, look at that lovely crispy bark that just peels away beautifully. Get this nice rustic brown. It's really nice. I could do that, but do you know what? I don't think I will, because that's going to take too long, and I'm impatient, so we're going to remove those. Then we've also got this here. Well, that's not going to be any point either, so we'll remove that. And we've also got something going upwards here, so we'll remove that as well. So let's just clearing up again. Just get a better look at what we've got and what potential there is. I don't know about you, but I can actually see one or two options there. And as always, the first thing I like to do when I've got these sort of difficult species is just get rid of the excess that we know that we're just not going to be using, even if it is the final design. Because ultimately I do still need to do the summer pruning, which is going to promote back budding, hopefully, and greater ramification. And in something which is a difficult species, every opportunity to get ramification is an opportunity to try and find an answer to your design problems. So let's get this daisy bush down a bit and see where we could potentially go from it. Okay, I've got this great big long thing here. You know, I could be really lazy. I could then grow a canopy over here. They're not the most massive of leaves, so it doesn't look terrible, but no, I don't think that's the solution I'm going for. So here we go. Do you want to see what I'm going to do? In fact, why don't you pop down in the comments right now what you would do next with this, and if it involves anything to do with the trash or the rubbish, then leave now, please. Interesting. I like the movement. Yeah, now what I've recognised with this one is that if the roots on this right hand side allow me to, then I could actually just change the potting angle. And yep, I know some of you shouting out there, what are you in the second month of summer and you shouldn't do repots? Well, you know, I've done them before. I've done them on trident maples, I've done them on lots of things, but particularly with evergreens it isn't as much of an issue, I've found, certainly. And I certainly don't intend to do much root pruning, if any at all. I just want to see what's there and just change that angle just slightly, because I think that'll make a massive difference. Do these things make loads of roots? Tons. Let's just get rid of a little bit around here. It's actually quite hard baked, to be fair. And what I'm looking for is to see if I've got a root mass on this side and actually it's not looking too bad. Let's just dig down. The good thing about them is they're these fibrous sort of what I call the box-like roots, which is always promising because it means they create roots probably very easily. So let's just loosen this up a bit. And I know the balance is always difficult going between just a very, very light prune, and you end up taking more and more and more as you see just how much root there is in this, and there is actually quite a lot. The species itself was cheap for me. In other words, I picked it up for nothing, and it's part of the experimentation. So I'm not going to get too worried if it doesn't work out. I've got some great big rocks in there I don't want, so we want to get rid of those anyway. I am going to keep spraying the roots so we don't actually bake them at all. Now the other advantage of having taken off some of the shrubbery is, again, there's going to be less stress on those roots. There's actually quite a good lower root plane down there actually. Get rid of a couple of those. Something coming around here, it's twisting, get rid of that. Just a few of the longer ones. And I know there's all of you going, he's doing it again, big heavy root prune. It's not, it really isn't. That's all I'm going to take. Well, I've just put it in the pot, put a couple of securing wires, put it slightly on the angle. This isn't a repotting video, so if you want to know loads about repotting, then I'm sure if you go back to my sort of spring section, there's loads about repotting. But guess what? What do you think? Does that make a difference? Because I think it does.
Now that I didn't expect.
I think it's pretty awesome actually. In fact, it's better than I thought it would be. So we need to dig that in a bit. Again, we want to make sure that the roots that we have got there are in close contact with soil. And do I need to make a decision about roots? Well, you tell me in a second. There's one here that I can clearly see is probably best removed. And I think it'll be obvious to most of us. Now the fact that I've done this in summer doesn't mean I'm scot-free from how I treat this. What I don't want to do is risk scorching through the next few weeks, which in the UK is pretty unlikely anyway. I think we had our day of summer last week. But what I will do is I make sure it's well watered and it's kept in a partially shady spot of the garden and certainly doesn't get the full heat. So there we go, how it's looking, and it's a remarkable difference. It's definitely a remarkable difference, and I think we can see some easy wins, and I'm going to do it straight away. I could sit and wait and have a look in the comments and see how many of you said get rid of this root here. And of course the only risk with that is in some trees, especially with juniper, you never know if that was the only live vein root leading to a great mat beneath it, and what you've done is cut the only living viable part of the tree. But in this case I know that's not the case. Now, for many of the sharper sighted amongst you, you may well have noticed I've had a little visitor all the way through this. Should we get in close and have a look at Bonsai snailus?
There he is, just to the right of my oleary. Bonsai snailus. And right above him is Bonsai spiderus. I think he's a bit too big for you to eat, Mr. Spider. Anyway, let's get rid of him and put him somewhere where he really wants to be. Oh, the spider's off!
So truthfully, I could really leave it just like this, but I think most of us can see there are a few obvious things. This thing here, well, at best, well, even better than that, this one here. We're definitely going to get rid of this one. So that's gone, and I like that as the front. I really don't see a place for that, so I'm going to get rid of it. Now, part of the rationale behind this is that I've already noticed with these, when you prune them, and I pruned one back quite heavily a few months ago, it sends out loads of shoots from all over the actual main main bark itself. So I'm quite confident that we may well actually get something from these. But all I do need to do then is just, I'm not sure whether I need that down there. I'll just probably just shorten things a little bit. And all I'm doing is really going back down to single leaf pairs again. I don't want to take off too much, but I've still got to give this an opportunity to ramify if it's actually going to be a proper bonsai. So with that in mind, we've got 4 from the same junction point here. Probably I don't need that one. Quite like what we've got here. So I may actually get rid of that top one. That is all I intend to do with this one, and I won't pretend that was a surprise. That's the second of these species, Oleari, that have actually surprised me. The bark on these is actually surprisingly attractive. Very hard looking. It's a lot like juniper and redwood in the way that it chips off and you get that lovely hard looking solid brown. Beautiful. Love that. Okay, well, I'm sure there's some of you who probably say I could go further, I could have removed a lot more of this growth, and do you know what? Maybe next year I will. I've got to be very aware that I still want growth on top. I still want it to bring in energy. I still want it to help give the roots that are there a chance to stabilise and continue to do well. But for now, very happy. That's probably better than the one that I'm really impressed with. So I think already, if we said right now, can you make bonsai from this this lesser known species from New Zealand, daisy bush, I'd have to say a big
yes you can!
So now I'm going to show you 2 that are very, very challenging that I still don't have an answer for. You tell me what you think. Okay, that's a challenge. I think I said in my last video about this one, I loved this root structure you had here and then coming up this way. But I was hoping we'd get, say, a branch there growing or whatever. And I keep looking at it, and I think there's only one solution for this. And surprisingly, no, it's not the trash. I'm getting very US with trash. But we'll keep that. We've potentially got a little something down here, but I am thinking slim lines. Shall we see if we can do a literati with just a few basic pruning chops? That's my answer with this. You've got to like, the wood lice, he's off. You've got to like this. We don't have to like it, but again, it's that lovely flaky bark. Interesting, very, very interesting. That's dead. So that's why I'm saving this. So I'm going to make some pretty ruthless decisions. Probably could have made them last year, but let's go for it. The first one is this one here. Let's get rid of it totally. Got another one up here. Dead bit. I'm going to keep this just to see what happens. We've got this up here. Now, if I look at this as a literati, we've got moving here, moves up slightly, back down. Ideally, one of these will work out, or this one here, but we don't need this to be going any further than there. And potentially, well, it could go either way. We'll just remove some growing tips. Apart from that one, which I want to continue to grow out. That is probably as far as I'm going to go with it. Each year I look at it and I'm a little bit more enthusiastic about it this year. Just a little bit. That's dead roots. Certainly not enthused enough to put it into a decent pot, that's for sure. Potentially, this could be the better front for the literati. You can see more and more of this little bit of movement there. That probably does need to go off. We don't want it going off too far, but right now, that's it. So that's that one. Now, should we go for the real impossible one, which I think is a bin job, or should we quickly have a look at the one that I think is already well on its way? So there it is, and certainly if you saw the video up there, which was when I worked on these in 2023, you'd have already seen that this one was starting to take shape, and I think the only thing I talked about was potential inverse taper issues lower down the trunk. But the more I look at it, the less I see it. Look at that when you pull that bark off. It almost peels away like the old Australian gum trees, eucalyptus. Lovely bark on it. But the other good reason for removing this flaky bark, so what we don't want is bark related borers or creatures like that in there. Obviously I'm developing this as a broom style, and it seems to be doing okay. Now I pruned this actually about 2 months ago, at the same time that I did the I pruned this probably about 6 to 7 weeks ago. Just cut it back, standard pruning to profile, and it has sent loads of little buds, and I'll show you what I mean by that. All the way here, little ones here, 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 all these are new, up here, new ones from there, new ones here and here. So they really do bud, and you can see if you get in close, wherever there's a slight delineation of junction of each growth spurt, so you can see where you're going to get the new growth from. So with that in mind, we've already had one flush. Let's see if we can encourage us to do more. What we want to do is, looking at this, I'm just going to take off more and more. Don't want all that upward growth, don't want that. And as you can see, 1, 2, 3. I'm going to take it back to the closest set so I can get the ramification and the bifurcation coming out lower. And even here, I've got lower ones here and here. I could actually go back even more. Which, do you know what? Let's do that. Let's see what happens. Our front's in here. We need to take this back quite a long way actually. We probably need to see what happens if I do that. And again, I'll say this, I'm not being, even though I'm getting used to this species, I'm still not being as hard as I might be with a maple, where I know exactly what it's going to do and I know exactly how much I can take off. So I'm still leaving myself room for just in case, is probably the way to put it. Under here, that will be a useful little branch. Let's just cut this extension here and see what happens with these. That in close there we don't want wasted though, and I don't want that one there either. So we're going to get growth up here, which means we just need to look here. This is our main height, this can't be up there, so let's cut back to there. Looking there, we've just got this stuff up here really which we really need to look at. And again, it's looking to see, I've got loads of growth from the bases there. I'd probably quite like to see what happens and see if we get new growth there. And in fact I want that there. I don't want that up, so I'm going to take that further back. And to be fair, looking at this, I've got one coming out this way. Do I want branches coming that way? Don't know. Probably don't want that though. Let's leave it at that, shall we? I think that's about right. So we've brought everything back to basically 1 or 2 bud points. Mr. Motorcycle wants to see what I'm doing as well. There's going to be an issue here straight away that I can see, and it's this branch here, quite long, going beyond the reach of this one, but also if you look at it, it's actually coming across and is going to be crossing this one, which is going to create a problem, which means I probably want to take it all the way back now. And it's either going to make it or it's not, so let's do that. That means if we get a branch coming out this way, that'll be much better for the eventual design. And potentially I may even want to cut there. I see buds coming from there, I'll cut that even further back. So there we go, that's that one. Come on, let's finish off with the real nasty one, shall we?
You ready for this?
I'm ready.
We'll go on, put your hands up if anyone here thinks there's any hope at all. The weeds like it, we'll get rid of those in a second. It's, again, very, very straight these grow, so you've got to do the pruning early or promote the back budding on it. And this one, I mean, the easy answer is going Literati on this line perhaps, taking advantage of this maybe. There is some interesting movement here, but again we've got a very straight section here. I'm going to weed it and then come back to you. I actually hope that once I got rid of the weeds, it would like miraculously become a lot easier. It's not. I've got two choices. Well, I've got three if you count the bin. First choice is to actually remove all of this and try and do something down with just this bit here. It's very angular. Every part of me is still screaming Literati is the only possible future, and even that's a tough one. So looking at this, we've got movement here. If we get a branch coming there, that would be great. Let's clear this up so we can see what's in there. Get rid of that. Whether we use this here, so we'll get rid of this. The reason I mean it's easy choices here is because I've got three. 1, 2, and let's get rid of the big strong growing tip. So we've got this here, we'll do the same. We've got this great big long gangly on the inside. I don't think that'll come in at any point. I don't think we'll need that at any point. It's on the inside of the bend regardless. Got a big ugly scar there. Don't know about these. Let's just cut them back. See what happens. That way I'll get to see what happens if I cut wood that's got no growth on the end of it, and to see what happens. A bit like azalea, hopefully it'll just bud back. Okay, so we've got this line here potentially going up this way, maybe, or an option coming here. There is nice movement here, and we've got branches under here and here, so let's just take that off. And again, the harder these are, the more I'm willing to experiment and just see what I can do to these and what the actual tree does in response, because what I learned from this I can apply to the two that I think have got a lot more potential, and in fact are already on their way to bonsai stardom. So that is all I intended to do. Again, if you look at these, there's actually little points along the way here where you would expect back budding to occur, if it's going to occur. So we'll watch this and see what happens. Potentially, yeah, potentially there's something there. So you let me know in the comments what you think of that last one. But hey, that's been my fun with Daisy Bush. If you've liked this, it's different, and big thumbs up. And if you think other people might enjoy this, because let's be honest, Daisy Bush is not going to come up on the Google search terms for YouTube, so I'm going to need you to share that. So again, I'd humbly ask you to either share and subscribe if you like the way I present stuff, and if you don't, well, share it anyway, because someone else might like it better. So really all that's left for me to do is to show you again the one that again was such a big surprise. This isn't, I didn't even think this was going to be the winning one out of all those early area, but I hope you're as impressed with this one as I am. As always, if you've got any comments or anything or any suggestions, whack them down there. I take screenshots of all your comments, screenshots all your comments, put them in a file, and when I come to deal with them next I work my way through, because a lot of the ideas you have are 100 times better than anything I come up with. So enjoy your weekend or your weekday or your work, and better still, enjoy the fact that you're coming to the end of this video and you don't need to watch me anymore. All the best, happy bonsai, and God bless. Cheers.